Reid Detmers is an easy breakout call for me in 2023. Between the first half and the second half last year, strikeouts jumped, he stopped giving up home runs, and his FIP, which is a nerd stat for what pitchers can control, fell more than a run below the league average at 2.57. And this all came about because of a progressive refinement of his slider. Month to month, this pitch kind of changed and eventually settled on a shape that we call the Gyro Slider. So let's dig into why Reid Detmers is bound to beat his projections in 2023 and what on earth a Gyro Slider is. Detmers' slider last season is a good reason why pitch movement averages can sometimes be misleading for given players because they tinker with a pitch throughout the course of a season. We're going to break down Reid's slider based on month, which is about every 5 to 6 starts, and we can see that slider starts to change month by month, and it buckets into different kinds of sliders and breaking balls, so to speak. In April, it was kind of a short curveball. Anytime you see a negative number in the vertical movement column here, that's suggesting the resulting movement of the ball at the plate had some topspin, like a curveball, so breaking downward slightly. The horizontal movement column here is just the amount of side-to-side break the pitch had. Given Detmers is a lefty, this would be break into a right-handed hitter's hands. Jump to May and you'll see that the pitch changed pretty drastically month to month. It lost that downward movement, akin to a curveball, and picked up a lot more lateral break. This now could be categorized as a sweeping slider, the pitch I'm sure you've heard called maybe a sweeper or a whirly, and it's a great way to generate swing and miss versus same-handed hitters. But that platoon nature of the pitch is an issue. Given Detmers is a lefty and he faced about 80% of right-handed batters last year, this sweeper is good in theory by the stuff plus number, but in practice, given he doesn't face a ton of left-handed hitters, it really doesn't fit the approach as to how he would maybe ideally want to attack right-handed hitters. So in June, you see him keep tinkering. He started throwing the pitch a little bit harder, he loses a bit of that horizontal sweep, and as a result, it allowed a .533 slug against, the worst month of his season. In July, it picks up even more velocity, trades lateral break for some downward break, looks a bit like that April version of the pitch, and starts to finally resemble an interesting offering, as you see that stuff plus number tick above 110 for the first time, primarily due to the pitch's velocity. In August and September, you finally see him mold the pitch into what we call a true gyro slider. Minimal downward break or lift, also minimal sweep or that glove side movement into a right-handed hitter, and most importantly, that pitch is now above 87 miles per hour. And all the while, the usage on the pitch and his corresponding strikeout rate through the year climbed. It started somewhere around 17 to 18% usage on the pitch and finished the season with a rolling average usage north of 30%. You can see on that blue line right here. His strikeouts, the red line, ballooned alongside the pitch's usage, going from about 20% to 25%. Next year, I think the intention with the pitch is just to throw it even harder, and as a result, that will almost certainly make it more effective. This shape, the gyro slider, which we'll talk about in a second, is one that succeeds when it's thrown hard. So every tick that he's getting above that 87-ish miles per hour he sat on the pitch in August and September is just going to make it a better offering. So what is this gyro slider shape? If you think of a fastball having backspin as you pull down on the ball and you resist a bit of that gravity as it spins towards the plate, a slider having a bit of side spin, lateral break this way, sweeping across away from a right-handed hitter if you're a righty, and that curveball maybe having a top spin, spinning around the ball, almost amplifying the effects of gravity and dropping more than gravity alone. A gyro slider is basically a bullet. It's bullet spin or football spin, such that it's spinning like this as it moves towards the plate. And it only drops because of the effects of gravity. There's really nothing else. There's no spin of the ball acting on the ball to amplify those effects. And because the language of pitching is known as short form movement, in short form movement, you're taking out the effects of gravity. So what happens on the vertical movement side of things with a fastball that has lift and a curveball that has a lot of drop, because of this bullet spin, you're going to end up around that 0 inches of vertical movement. This is why in August and September, Reid Detmers' slider had essentially no vertical movement. It just dropped because of the force of gravity. That system of short form movement is essentially trying to quantify how much a pitch's movement deviates from that 0 point, such that when you look at a plot of short form movement, so to speak, and we embed it into a hitter so you can kind of understand how it looks, especially we'll pull Reid Detmers here as the left-handed pitcher, you can see that everything from a backspin of the fastball to the side spin of a slider, top spin of the curveball as we showed, is all around that 0 gyro slider center point as we're talking about. Now it may seem pretty counterintuitive that a pitch that has basically no movement, right? It's around that 0 point is an effective offering, but especially when it's thrown above 86 miles per hour, it can actually be a really, really effective pitch. And this is partially because I think it moves differently than a hitter would normally expect given the word slider. So if I'm Reid Detmers and I'm a lefty trying to throw this pitch to a right-handed hitter, for example, And that hitter has a mental map of what sliders move like, right? Most of them are going to move into his hands from a left-handed pitcher. Generally, we think of sliders as having a little bit of a lateral break. Because you're taking almost all of that lateral break away in a gyro slider and all that vertical component away, this pitch kind of just drops and drifts, again, with the effects of gravity as it moves towards the plate. So if I'm a hitter, I'm expecting that pitch as a slider to kind of come into my hands more, and instead, it doesn't do that. And as a result, it almost kind of fades away. It has a bit of almost a change-up effect to it. This is why you often hear and see, honestly, hitters have more change-up swings where they're swinging at the pitch and the pitch is fading away from them, as opposed to slider swings. Slider swings being those where you're kind of checking your swing, the ball's coming under your bat. These gyro sliders from lefty into a righty almost fade away to some extent. This allows it to have less of a drastic platoon split. We talked earlier about how that sweeper for Reid facing 20% of left-handed hitters is not really effective when he faces the other 80% of hitters, the right-handed hitters he faces. This will allow him to kind of combat righties and neutralize a bit of a platoon split, especially as lineups are stacked right-handed heavy against him. So what should you expect from Reid Detmers this year? Well, depending on what projections you kind of look at, I'm going to use a mix of Steamer, ATC from Errol Cohen, who does a really good job kind of aggregating projections, and also Eno Sarris's PPERA projections, which has to do with his pitching model, which I really like, and brings in the underlying traits. You're looking at Reid Detmers being around 160 innings. I think he's a low to mid fours guy based on these projections, 25% strikeout rate. The whip's going to be, 125 to 13, so not particularly great. This is a guy, he's in like the top 60 to 80 overall pitchers in baseball, starting pitchers in baseball, you'd see. He's kind of like a okay 4-ish, number 4 starter. But given that I think this slider will kind of ascend even more, I think he picks up a mile per hour to keeps and retains this kind of gyro-y slider shape, which will be able to neutralize right-handed hitters. I'm basically going to say he kind of beats all of this. I'll retain the innings. I'll say he's about a 160 innings guy, but I think he gets back right around that 3.5 ERA. He had like a 3.77 last year. I'd say that he kind of maybe potentially overperformed that a little bit. So let's say he's between like the 3.5 and 3.77 that he had last year. I think the strikeout rate jumps a little bit above 25%. And I bet because of that, the whip kind of comes down to, say, maybe the low 1-2s, even potentially sub 1-2, which would be really, really impressive for him. So overall, I mean, he goes from being kind of more Tyler Mahle territory, maybe even a little bit worse than Tyler Mahle in that, again, 60 to 80 overall window of starting pitchers in baseball. And I think it vaults him ahead. It vaults him into the territory. Not as good as like a Christian Javier, but maybe kind of like a Freddie Peralta if you're not considering injury history and stuff like that. So that kind of window where it's, he's pushing into the number 3 category, maybe even the number 2. He's a key piece of that Angels rotation, backing up guys like Patrick Sandoval, Shohei Ohtani, and others. And I think he kind of takes a step forward this year. And I think it's on the back of this new gyro slider of his that I hope you kind of got an idea of how it works and why it's effective and why it could particularly be a really good weapon for him heading into 2023.